Everyone remembers the glittering red gown that ignited 37 headlines, yet discovered only fleeting glimpses of the true story behind that daring dress. In small-town McAllister, Oklahoma, Reba McEntire learned resilience early on, surviving rough winters and hard work alongside her rodeo champion father. She pushed cattle at dawn, slept beneath stars on fractured oak planks, dreaming of stages instead of dusty pens and hay bales. Each morning she practiced her vocal runs alone by Creekside, finding echoes that matched her unwavering conviction to chase a shimmering Nashville spotlight. Her mother Jacqueline sacrificed stardom hopes, teaching her children harmonies during long drives, weaving love of music into every heartbeat of their humble family. As the third of four siblings, she embraced responsibility quickly, navigating sibling rivalries while nurturing a voice destined to command stadiums and hearts. At 14, her high school talent show triumph converted local curiosity into regional fascination, sparking whispers among Nashville insiders who craved pure country authenticity. Yet even success tasted bittersweet, as Mercury Records pressured her toward pop sheen, threatening her roots as critics questioned her genuine country pedigree passionately. Exhausted and defeated, Reba looked into cracked mirror reflections during her waning early career, contemplating a painful return to Oklahoma's unforgiving plains and shores. Nashville executives underestimated her tenacity, believing she lacked commercial appeal. Unaware of the fire inside, Reba refused surrender despite bruised hopes and broken contracts. The pivotal moment arrived on a battered tour bus that shook beneath black velvet skies, carrying her dreams and depleted funds toward an uncertain destiny. On board, she discovered her first #1 hit, "I Can't Even Get the Blues," fueling renewed ambition coursing through every exhausted fiber within her soul. She leaped into every battle thereafter with steadfast courage, demanding creative control, refusing to compromise authenticity for fleeting radio spins or superficial fame. With unwavering spirit, she moved to MCA Records, a bold gamble defying industry conventions, trusting instincts that heralded her most triumphant chapter yet. Under Jimmy Bowen's guidance, she selected songs with piercing narratives, choosing raw emotional honesty over formulaic pop country convenience and hollow tropes easily forgotten. Suddenly, her voice soared atop country charts, each #1 fueled by heartbreak, tenacity, and unabashed storytelling connecting intimately with blue-collar listeners nationwide. Despite sudden superstardom, she remained grounded by prairie values, resisting Hollywood glitz until that unforgettable CMA gown moment imbued her wholesome persona with edgy rebellion. Under sparkling crystals and daring sheer panels, she transformed elegance into shockwave, fracturing conservative expectations and provoking water-cooler debates nationwide with audacious vulnerability. Headlines raced to capture that raw moment. Corporate sponsors scrambled for commentary, while fans debated rebellion versus betrayal, forging deep bonds over Reba's unapologetic authenticity. This script peels away every facade, peeling back decades of struggles, triumphs, tragedies, and defiant choices shaping Reba's journey from obedient good girl toward bold industry rebel. Each chapter blends emotional resonance with dramatic intrigue, weaving archival footage descriptions, behind-the-scenes whispers, and personal anecdotes seldom shared beyond Nashville's inner circles. We trace her family's rocky journey, mother's unfulfilled dreams, father's rodeo legacy, and childhood hardships that forged steel resolve beneath a blossoming superstar's glimmering exterior. Contrasts emerge between pristine red carpet moments and dusty barn practices, intimate laughter echoing backstage versus spotlight grandeur, illuminating packed arena stages. This narrative reveals strategic decisions, industry power plays, and personal battles, divorce losses, secret activism for gay rights, and near-fatal plane crash that shifted her worldview. Through empathetic storytelling, we explore how each setback propelled Reba to rise, embracing vulnerability as strength and transforming public perception through unflinching honesty. Witness her laughter amid tears, stubborn resolve during rejection letters, and unbreakable bond with fans who saw their own struggles reflected in her melodious storytelling. That we confront her image metamorphosis, from cowgirl tees and practical boots to glittering gowns and poised elegance, symbolizing a metamorphosis from rural daughter into fearless cultural icon. Our script uses suspenseful pacing, alternating soft, reflective moments with high-stakes turning points, ensuring viewers remain riveted until the final shimmering note. Seamless transitions guide us from childhood dirt roads to Nashville's neon lights, from industry boardroom battles to living room whispers among devoted fans sharing inside jokes that in each breath we deliver crisp context, emotional clarity, and strategic reveals, enticing viewers to lean in, connecting their own life experiences to Reba's soaring narrative. This journey ultimately reveals why Reba McEntire left nothing to the imagination, inviting us all to witness the risks she took and the barriers shattered, from sparkling gowns that left audiences breathless to raw performances that exposed her vulnerable core. Her legacy intertwines spectacle and authenticity in perfect harmony. When controversies erupted, we unpack fan mail piles, executive memos, and backstage tensions, examining how authenticity eclipsed critical backlash and propelled Reba further. Between chart-topping hits and heartfelt ballads lies a portrait of resilience. An artist who refused to be confined by genre definitions or conservative expectations. Our immersive narrative style fuses cinematic flair with intimate interviews, painting vivid mental images as if you were standing in dusty barn aisles or glittering award show halls, that you'll feel the roar of final acts in sold-out arenas, the hush of backstage corridors, the heartbeat throbbing beneath a sequined gown under blinding spotlight. By the end, you'll understand how Reba's courageous choices, embracing controversy, shattering norms, championing causes, crafted her as country music's unyielding trailblazer. Get ready to embark on an electrifying journey through Reba's life, where every challenge forged a diamond persona, shining brighter together than each struggle dared to dim. Brace yourself for reveals, deeply felt emotions, and powerful insights guiding you through every twist in Reba's ascent, painting an unforgettable portrait of bold transformation. In McAlester, Oklahoma, Reba's early life unfolded against a humble backdrop of wide, endless plains and lonely oak trees. Born into a rodeo family, she absorbed the early rhythms of hard work by watching her father, Clark, win world titles in steer roping while her mother, Jacqueline, prepared meals for cowboys returning home sunbaked. Their simple, tiny three-room house lacked indoor plumbing, but it overflowed with laughter, music, and determination. Each evening, Jacqueline gathered her children around a worn couch, teaching them harmonies passed down through generations. Around that couch, Reba McEntire first discovered the power of her own voice. When she was 6, Reba could be found at dawn driving cattle across rocky hills, earning deep calluses on her hands and grit in her spirit. Summers were filled with long days under blistering sun, mending fences when not helping load timber onto trucks. Neighbors jokingly nicknamed their land Sorry Land, because the rocky ground seemed cursed. Yet beneath the hardship, the McEntire Ranch was fertile soil for Reba's dreams. She taught herself melodies during stolen moments by the creek, matching her voice to the gentle rush of water, embracing solitude as her stage. Each note carried the weight of family pride and hope. At AT school, Reba balanced homework with daydreams of melodies, tapping secret rhythms on desk edges during lessons. Teachers admired her determination, but noticed the spark in her eye whenever music drifted through hallways. By ninth grade, she and siblings Paige and Susie formed the Singing McEntires. Their debut at a 4-H talent show unleashed thunderous applause that reverberated through every barn in Pittsburgh County. Weekend performances packed farmsteads as neighbors gathered to hear genuine country tunes laced with youthful edge. Even then, industry insiders whispered that Reba's voice held promise far beyond the dusty fairgrounds and charisma that demanded attention. By age 18, the McEntires had pressed 1,000 copies of the Ballad of John McEntire, a tribute to their grandfather, selling out in days. The records brought attention from Nashville scouts hungry for fresh voices steeped in Americana. One fateful meeting at the 1974 National Finals Rodeo set it all in motion. While singing the national anthem, she mesmerized Red Steagall and his manager, who saw in her unpolished voice a gem ready to shine. Within months, Reba and Jacqueline loaded a trunk of clothes into an old station wagon and embarked on a 670-mile journey into the unknown. Life in Nashville felt like stepping onto a tightrope. They arrived with pocket change and unwavering faith, crisscrossing audition rooms and label lobbies in the hopes of a single yes. Nights were consumed by odd jobs, waiting tables, answering phones, and dusting instruments in cramped studios to stretch every dollar. Despite the exhaustion, Reba refused to sacrifice her signature twang for glossy pop formulas pushed by executives. She battled with producers who couldn't grasp her aversion to shallow trends. Each disagreement risked her career, yet confirmed her resolve. Authenticity would be her compass, if it meant a longer, rockier path to stardom. Rejection fueled her resolve. Every closed door intensified her hunger. For nearly 5 years, singles climbed on the country charts but stalled outside the top 10. In her tiny apartment, she refined lyrics drawn from heartbreak and rural grit. Her journal brimmed with raw confessions of love lost and fights won. Friends recall late-night writing under flickering light, where Reba transformed tears into ballads that later became anthems. Unseen by most, these private sessions forged the emotional core defining her future songs and deep, unbreakable bond with listeners. Each setback taught her that on January 8, 1983, Reba found herself shivering on a broken tour bus by a silent highway. Clutching a radio microphone, she braced for silence. Seconds later, the announcer crackled. Now topping the charts, Reba McEntire with "I Can't Even Get the Blues." In that moment, the bus's rattling died beneath thunderous cheers only she could hear. Bandmates erupted in celebration around her as tears welled. In a heartbeat, every setback, every studio clash, every scribble in her journal crystallized into triumph. She had finally arrived. Her heart pounded with overwhelming validation. Emboldened by that victory, Reba seized creative control, steering her career with newfound authority. Her bold decision to leave Mercury and join MCA proved pivotal, granting her freedom to choose songs that spoke directly to her soul and her roots. Hits like "Somebody Should Leave" and "How Blue" affirmed her instincts, climbing to #1 with authenticity intact. These triumphs laid a foundation for controversy, risk, and reinvention, setting the scene for that iconic red carpet moment. Ahead lay gowns, personal trials, and cultural debates that would forever shape her identity and legacy. Then in September 1993, beneath the bright glare of stage lights and the hush of a national audience, she stepped into her most daring moment yet. The Country Music Association Awards had gathered the genre's staunchest traditionalists, each expecting a safe, familiar performance from the queen of wholesome appeal. But Reba McEntire arrived wearing a red velvet gown that blurred every line between elegant sophistication and uncharted audacity. The camera zoomed in as thousands of crystals caught the stage lights, tracing the sheer panels that hinted at midnight secrets. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers ignited like wildfire. In an instant, her image crystallized as both rebel and icon. As she took the stage to perform "Does He Love You" alongside Linda Davis. The song's haunting harmonies filled the Grand Ole Opry House. Each note pressed against her chest with raw emotion, yet every camera shutter and audience gasp reminded the world of the dress. Unlike any gown seen before at a country music ceremony, its plunging neckline and sheer mesh rewrote every conservative expectation. The ensuing performance glowed with dramatic tension, equal parts lovelorn ballad and audacious spectacle. She owned every moment, her voice unwavering, her pose confident, her glance daring. Millions watched from home, torn between admiration and affront. Headlines exploded the next morning. 37 newspapers splashed the dress across front pages, each vying for the most sensational angle. Country music columns wrestled over whether she had betrayed her blue-collar roots or elevated the genre into new territory. Talk show hosts debated her responsibility as a role model to young girls. Conservative fans penned heated letters, some praising her boldness, others denouncing her as unworthy of family playlists. Within days, fan club mailboxes bulged with thousands of handwritten notes, some pleading forgiveness, others offering praise for her fearless reinvention. Yet behind closed doors, Reba remained unshaken. She understood controversy as currency in an ever-shifting industry, and she channeled every critique into an even stronger resolve. In her dressing room, surrounded by sequins and echoes of applause, she and her team plotted their next moves. She refused to apologize. Instead, she capitalized on the buzz, scheduling a behind-the-scenes special, guest articles in women's magazines, and an in-depth interview exploring why tradition needed moments of disruption. She turned scandal into strategy, reminding fans that authenticity sometimes meant shattering conventions. Just 6 months later, when she released For My Broken Heart, the gravity of prior controversy enriched every lyric. Listeners connected deeply to her tales of loss and resilience, resonating with an artist unafraid to bear vulnerability in both voice and wardrobe. The album soared to double platinum, and critics lauded its blend of classic country storytelling with cinematic production. In that period, she transformed from a country singer to a cultural storyteller, her red gown moment seamlessly woven into a larger tapestry of artistic risk. Taking in 2001, Reba embraced a whole new stage, television sitcom star. Her show, aptly titled Reba, premiered on the WB network, debuting just weeks after the tragedy of 9/11. In a climate of national grief, her warm humor and family-first story arcs provided welcome comfort. Playing a sharp-witted single mother navigating divorce, teenage rebellion, and co-parenting mishaps, she expanded her fan base far beyond music lovers. Suddenly, people who had only known her as a singer saw her as a relatable neighbor, wisecracking aunt, or feisty best friend living life with both humor and heart. Over 6 seasons and 125 episodes, her signature laughter and down-to-earth charm cemented her cross-platform appeal. Simultaneously, she ventured onto Broadway, embodying Annie Oakley in Annie Get Your Gun. Critics praised her robust vocals and natural stage presence, remarking that few could transition so seamlessly between electric guitar twangs and period show tunes. The experiment paid off. She attracted theatergoers who then flocked to her concerts, and her theater friends collected her country albums. Each new audience segment wove into the next, forming a tapestry of fans who expected heart, humor, and honesty from Reba, no matter the venue. Outside performance halls, Reba's entrepreneurial spirit flourished. In 2005, she launched a fashion line with Dillard's that reflected her signature mix of Southern elegance and practicality. The collection, selling hats, boots, and evening wear alike, resonated with fans who longed for a slice of her glamorous yet grounded style. Later, she partnered with Cracker Barrel to create Rock and Roll, or by Reba, a Western-inspired retail line that sold out within weeks. Then came Reba's Place, a restaurant and music venue in Oklahoma that welcomed 500,000 visitors its first year. Each venture carried her aesthetic, bold accents, warm hospitality, and a touch of diamond-studded flair. Her public image also grew sharper through fearless advocacy. In 2003, she spoke out against the Iraq invasion, risking radio blackouts in small towns. In 2015, she posted a rainbow-emblazoned logo to champion same-sex marriage, prompting boycotts from conservative listeners, yet winning praise from progressives who saw her as a trailblazing ally. When she called out ageism and sexism at CMA board meetings, she catalyzed a revived conversation about representation. Her influence extended well beyond melodies. She used her platform to reshape an industry that had once forced her into compromises. Along the way, feuds sparked headlines but revealed her loyalty to core values. From disputes with other artists over artistic direction to public takedowns of radio consultants making sexist analogies, she stood her ground with both wit and conviction. These clashes, rather than damage her image, showcased her unwillingness to accept double standards, illuminating the courage that crystallized in her earliest days on dusty Oklahoma ranches. Through every chapter, through every gown, chart-topping hit, sitcom laugh track, and boardroom battle, Reba McEntire proved that leaving nothing to the imagination was more than a sensational soundbite. It was a philosophy. Authenticity so vivid it challenges norms, so fearless it disarms critics, and so heartfelt it binds generations of fans. Today, when we revisit the Red Velvet moment, it serves as a prism reflecting her career's full spectrum: tradition, rebellion, heartbreak, humor, resilience. Her legacy endures because she embraced every contrast, from dusty practice fields to high-gloss award stages, weaving them into an unforgettable narrative. The roar of sold-out arenas and the hush of backstage corridors couldn't silence the most personal chapters of Reba McEntire's journey. In 1987, at the height of her CMA victories, she faced heartbreak at home. Married at 21 to rodeo champion Charlie Battles, she had believed their shared roots would anchor them. But as the twang of her guitar carried her voice across stadiums, the couple's bond frayed under relentless touring schedules and rising fame. Tiny bursts of joy in trailer homes between shows couldn't compete with longer stretches apart. Behind closed doors, trust unraveled like worn denim, until the punchy chorus of her own hit, "The Last One to Know," mirrored the ache of their final goodbye. Divorce papers arrived just days before her 32nd birthday, marking an end that felt less like a choice and more like survival. Amid whispered tabloid rumors and fan speculation, Reba retreated to melodies of healing. In the solitude of quiet studios, she unleashed songs about betrayal and heartbreak, channeling every stinging emotion into lyrics that resonated with anyone who'd ever loved and lost. Her album, Sweet 16, became more than a number. It was a reclamation of self. Listeners found solace in her raw honesty, and suddenly a new generation of fans saw Reba not just as a country superstar, but as a woman weathering the same storms they faced. Her vulnerability became her armor. Not long after, love reemerged in the form of Narvel Blackstock, her manager turned partner. Their union in 1989 felt like a fresh verse in an ever-expanding ballad. Two musicians sharing dreams, blending families, and building starstruck entertainment from scratch. As stepmother to Narvel's 3 children, Reba embraced every late-night homework session and chaotic family dinner, weaving laughter into life once more. Their business partnership thrived as they steered careers for other artists, proving her talents extended far beyond the microphone. Behind the scenes, she honed her instincts for spotting talent and storytelling, skills that would serve her long after her final curtain call. Motherhood arrived in 1990 with the birth of Shelby Blackstock. Cradling her newborn between tour stops, Reba converted bunk beds on the road into makeshift nurseries. Pastel blankets mingled with sequin costumes, and lullabies blended with amplifier feedback. When Shelby scraped his knee chasing cattle, she swapped guitar solos for tender kisses. Through that balance of cradle and microphone, Reba embodied modern womanhood, proving you could chase stardom without sacrificing love or family. Shelby would grow to race cars instead of record sales, yet even as he chased different dreams, his mother's lessons in resilience remained his guiding engine. As the 1990s unfurled, Reba's music matured alongside her personal odyssey. Songs like "Consider Me Gone" and "If You See Him" reflected a woman who had conquered betrayal and embraced new beginnings. Her voice carried an echo of every tear-stained lyric she'd ever written. Each album became a milestone, markers on a highway paved with determination. Critics who once questioned her insistence on traditional country sounds now nodded in appreciation. Her style transcended categories, blending honky-tonk roots with contemporary polish. In 2011, Reba stepped onto the stage of the Country Music Hall of Fame. Dolly Parton embraced her with a shoulder squeeze, acknowledging a shared legacy of Appalachia, grit, and voice-shaping history. Reba's induction speech paid tribute to Jacqueline's bedtime songs, Clark's rodeo lessons, and the countless fans who hung onto her every note. "I wear my mom's wedding ring," she whispered, holding back tears, as she honored the sacrifices that paved her path. Photos from that night captured a hero's homecoming. The child who once sang beside a creek, now celebrated as one of country music's immortal storytellers. Beyond awards, Reba's influence rippled into activism. In 2003, when she publicly questioned the Iraq invasion, she accepted social media flack and radio silence in conservative towns. No longer concerned only with chart positions, she had become a conscientious artist unwilling to mute her convictions. A decade later, she donned a rainbow filter over her logo to champion same-sex marriage, sparking boycotts yet inspiring tens of thousands who saw her as an unexpected ally. Fans debated whether a country icon could be anything but traditional, and she thrived on that tension, convincing a divided audience that courage in song must come with courage in heart. Ageism and sexism surfaced as stubborn corners of the industry, and Reba accepted the challenge. At 54, she made history as the first woman over 50 to debut at #1 on the country charts. She publicly challenged radio executives for sidelining female artists and urged the Country Music Association to launch initiatives for women's representation. Her words, sharp as a cowboy's rope, resonated. We deserve airtime, respect, and a place on that stage. In response, the CMA created mentorship programs and reevaluated voting criteria, changes that carried her spirit forward through a younger generation of artists. Through each family milestone, each boardroom battle, and every market shift, one truth remained. Reba McEntire embraced contrasts. She married heartbreak with hope, tradition with reinvention, and personal authenticity with business savvy. As her face appeared on restaurant menus, fashion tags, and TV screens, audiences everywhere recognized the same core essence that sparkled in that fateful red velvet gown. Her legacy, built from ranchland roots to global recognition, endures because she refused to mute her story, leaving every listener with the undeniable sense that no part of her journey was ever off limits. Now, Reba stands at a unique crossroads, blending her storied past with an ever-evolving present. She remains fiercely devoted to her musical roots, yet fearlessly embraces new creative paths. In recent years, album releases like Stronger Than the Truth have found her refining that signature twang with modern production and poignant songwriting. Streaming numbers climb alongside traditional CD sales, and sold-out arena tours remind us that authentic connection still reigns supreme. Fans travel across time zones to hear her sing tales born of heartache and hope, while younger listeners discover her classics through playlists and social feeds. Each live performance carries echoes of dusty barn stages and television studio lights, creating a bridge between the Oklahoma ranch girl she once was and the global superstar she has become. Offstage, she channels that same pioneering spirit into her philanthropy. Reba's Place Restaurant and Music Hall in Tishomingo, Oklahoma, serves more than hearty Southern fare. It becomes a gathering spot for community healing and celebration. Families share stories under flickering lanterns, local artists open for national acts, and conversation mixes over homemade pies. When natural disasters strike neighboring counties, she rallies volunteers and fundraisers, turning her venue into a relief hub. In every plate served and every note played, her dedication to home remains unwavering. It's an intimate reminder that success meant little without roots deep enough to nourish others. In boardrooms, she applies that tenacity to mentorship and industry reform. Through Starstruck Entertainment, she guides emerging talent, songwriters, vocalists, instrumentalists, ensuring they learn not only studio technique, but how to stand firm in their identities. Workshops at her ranch cover vocal coaching by sunrise and contract negotiations by afternoon. She sits shoulder to shoulder with hopeful artists, sharing rejection letters, industry anecdotes, and the precise moment when her first #1 single cracked through. She insists that every newcomer grasp the power of storytelling, how a single lyric can ignite empathy or spark controversy. Under her wing, artists learn that vibrato and vulnerability go hand in hand. Meanwhile, her fashion collaborations remain as carefully curated as her set lists. Each clothing line embodies her blend of Southern grace and confident edge, denim embroidered with rhinestones, tailored jackets paired with cowboy boots. Retail partners praise her unmatched ability to translate music-driven identity into wearable art. When she unveiled a couture capsule collection in New York, critics stood in applause, recognizing that her aesthetic transcends genre. She redefines country glamour regularly, reminding us that style itself can tell a story of contrast. Earthy textures laced with high fashion sheen. Her voice also echoes through scripted screens. Guest roles on television dramas and talk show cameos reveal her comedic timing and dramatic range. Producers seek her not only for star power, but for an authenticity that elevates every scene. Whether delivering a punchline in a sitcom cameo or lending gravitas to a heartfelt monologue, Reba remains captivating because she is entirely herself. Audiences see through the lens of her decades-long journey, knowing that when she steps into any role, she brings a reservoir of lived experience. Philanthropy continues to fuel her purpose beyond entertainment. As an outspoken advocate against domestic violence, she partners with shelters and awareness campaigns, sharing personal letters from fans whose lives changed after hearing her vulnerable ballads. When she speaks in schools about bullying and self-worth, her words carry the weight of someone who has weathered public scrutiny and personal loss. Each speech becomes a clarion call for compassion, reminding listeners that no one, star or spectator, is immune to life's trials. On social media, she maintains an honest dialogue. Behind-the-scenes photos of tour bus bunks transformed into nurseries mingle with candid snapshots of her celebrating friends' weddings. Fans comment on everyday moments, making pancakes for grandkids, practicing vocals under porch lights, and she replies, bridging star-fan divides with simple emojis or heartfelt notes. These brief interactions showcase that, despite global acclaim, Reba cherishes the same comforts that cradle us all. Looking ahead, she teases a memoir chronicling untold stories, contract battles, backstage revelations, and the precise instant she understood that her red gown moment transcended fashion. She hints at collaborations with emerging genres, perhaps a duet with a hip-hop artist or an orchestral project that reimagines her greatest hits. The promise of unexplored musical landscapes keeps listeners intrigued, eager to follow every sonic detour. Her legacy also inspires a new generation of icons who study her trajectory from rodeo field girl to Emmy-nominated star. Women in music cite her career as proof that longevity and relevance can coexist, even when you defy conventions. She left an indelible mark on the industry's approach to female artists, expanding the possibilities for what a country singer can achieve. In business, in art, and in advocacy, she remains an exemplar of reinvention grounded in integrity. So as this story unfolds, we remember why we first leaned in. A fiery red gown dared us to question tradition, and a resolute voice invited us into every chapter of her life. Today, that invitation persists. We watch her live not only through vintage footage, but in real-time evolution, still taking risks, still shattering expectations, and still leaving nothing to the imagination. In every encore, in every whispered backstage confession, Reba McEntire reminds us that legacy is more than trophies or chart positions. It's the echoes we leave in hearts and minds. From the dusty practice fields of McAllister to the dazzling choreography of global stadium tours, her journey maps a blueprint of relentless authenticity. Fans don't just attend her concerts. They become participants in a living chronicle, feeling every note pulse through shared memory. When the band strikes that opening chord, listeners aren't merely revisiting Fancy or Turn on the Radio. They're stepping into chapters of a life they've witnessed, page by page, lyric by lyric. Contrast has always defined her art. The same Reba who once pulled cattle at dawn now graces silk-draped stages and silver screen cameos. That contrast fuels both intrigue and inspiration. Audiences lean in because they sense truth underlying every persona shift, whether ranch girl simplicity or red carpet rebellion. They trust that when she lifts the microphone, she sings with the rawness of someone who has lived each verse. Heartbreak, resilience, joy, and defiance flowing through each melodic line. This unfiltered ethos is the secret ingredient that elevates a Reba McEntire song from mere entertainment to emotional catharsis.